We usually think of reading as a simple skill. Words on a page, meaning extracted, information absorbed, but in reality, we are always reading more than texts. We read images, we read narratives, we read institutions, policies, and social norms. So the real question is not only how we read books, but how we read the world. Reading is often described as neutral, objective, or purely technical. But no act of reading begins from nowhere. Every act of reading is shaped by language, history, education, and culture. We bring assumptions with us about what matters, what counts as knowledge, and whose voices are worth listening to. Often, we are unaware of these assumptions, and yet they quietly guide how we understand texts and events around us. To read the world is to begin noticing those hidden frameworks. Consider a syllabus. At first glance, it looks harmless, a list of books organized by weeks, but every syllabus reflects decisions. What's included, what's excluded, what's treated as central, and what's framed as supplementary. The same applies beyond the classroom. A news headline is a form of reading. A policy document is a form of reading. Even a social media timeline is a curated way of reading the world. In this sense, it's never just about comprehension. It's about orientation, how reality is organized around us. World literature sharpens this question. When texts travel across borders, they do not arrive unchanged. They are translated, selected, marketed, and framed. We can ask who gets translated, into which languages, for which audiences. Some stories circulate widely and are treated as universal. Others remain local, marginal, or even invisible. Reading the world through world literature means paying attention to these unequal patterns of circulation, into the power relations that shape them. Education also plays a crucial role here. Long before we ask critical questions, education teaches us how to read, what to value, what to ignore, what to treat as objective, and what to treat as context. Institutions do not only transmit knowledge, they also train habits of attention. To read the world critically is to reflect on how these habits are formed and whose interests they serve. These questions matter even more today. We live in a moment shaped by algorithms, artificial intelligence, and automated knowledge production. Increasingly, meanings produced for us before we encounter it. To read the world now requires more than access to information. It requires context, historical awareness, and interpretive responsibility. Critical reading is not about suspicion for its own sake. It's about learning to see the conditions under which meaning is made. To read the world is not to reject text, institutions, or knowledge. It's to engage them more carefully. Reading the world is a practice, and more like any practice, it can be learned. This is where this conversation begins. Until next time, keep reading the world.